So by all means, number one is have money that you've saved up to be able to approach the bank to get that account sorted. Yeah, I would say save. Have some financial backing, whatever work you do, whether it's 1, 2, 3, Bermuda 4 jobs. Is definitely to have some financial backing of your own to be able to approach a bank to look at the products that they have.
And so when someone's thinking about, starting their first account, like what should be like a minimum that they're thinking of starting out with? And like, are there levels to this? Like, is there a level that you can kind of get started out as like your first account? And then when you get to like a new stage in life, maybe you start to think about moving up into another tier. Like, what are some of those levels that we can get started at?
So effectively, what you want to do is, I go by the 50, 20, 30, right? And that's, to me, saving 50%, and then investing 20%, and then 30% is what you do for your daily usage, right? So your bills, because we all know we have those bills to be taken care of. And it absolutely has to go based off of your income, right? So I could go by 50, 20, 30. You may go by 40, 30, 30, right? It all depends on what you're bringing home, net income, in order to then be able to say, look, I'm going to establish this amount for this amount for this, and this amount for this, and be strict about it, right? A lot of times, cop match comes around, Friday even comes around, I'm going to spend, and just be strict about it. So, it's just having that knowledge within yourself to having a goal in mind and being able to dedicate your money towards that end goal, right? As long as you're consistent with it, you'll reach that end goal. Absolutely, you will reach it.
And then when you mentioned being strict with yourself, like not only being strict about this disciplines, like what are some strategies that we can kind of get to, like, okay, we've decided that we're going to do the 50, 30, 20 with our money segregation. How do we kind of set up some boundaries for ourselves to be able to stick to that?
Sure. So to be honest with you, the easiest way is once you have a bank account or a bank relationship is to set up different accounts, right? And I can only speak from my banking experience with the bank that I have is, let's say, so you have three of those accounts. 2 of those accounts you can actually hide from yourself when you log on to online banking, right? So let's say the 50 for savings and the 20 for investment, the 30, every time you log into your app, you can see that one account, even though those other 2 exist. What another good option is to have standing instructions. So a lot of the times people normally get paid directly into their bank account. A standing instruction can happen the day after that money comes into the account. And what it will do is it will take 50% of what you make, put it in automatically to the savings account, take that 20%, put that into an investment account or an investment structure that you already have. And then the 30% would just be there. So every time you're logging into your network at payday and let's say you make $1,000 a week, that 500, that's going to your savings. Right? That 300 is already there, and the 20% is, or that $200 is with whatever account you choose to invest with. So that, to be honest with you, is a very easy method and approach to be able to hide your own money away from yourself in order to protect yourself and be able to build as you need.
That's actually an interesting strategy, because I was going to ask you, like, is there a minimum number of accounts that you would recommend? So at the bare minimum, it sounds like you should probably just have 3 if you're going to do that particular strategy.
Correct. If you go into that, exactly, right? So even with savings, you could have different goals in mind, right? So savings for home, savings for education, savings for whatever. And then, you can label those accounts as you need to in your online banking. And then that way, and even set up those standing instructions to go to those individual accounts as you need them. But just keep in mind, whatever percentage you want to go to your savings, make sure that it's the whole amount that's going to your savings, right? So, yeah. Absolutely.
So one thing that millennials I see on social media complain about a lot, because that's Bermuda's national sport, complaining.
Yeah. Especially on Facebook.
Especially on Facebook. One thing that I see a lot is around the fees that we get charged. And I think that a lot of people underestimate the fact that the fees are necessary for them to operate their business, one. But then also, just for me comparatively, I have accounts in the US and their fees are actually 4 times as much than what I got charged for my Bermudian account. But just speaking to the fact of the bank fees that we get on a monthly basis, like if I have like these 10 now accounts, right, that I've now created, I now have to pay, like, let's say it's $50 for all of these different accounts.
Sure.
Despite me having to pay those fees, like, how important is it for me to still be able to segregate my money, just knowing that I do have these fees? Because a lot of people will say, I only want to have one account for each of these different things because I want to only have to pay the bank $6 a month versus the $50.
I get it.
So, like, how can we kind of change that narrative? Because, yeah, we're going to have to pay that fee, but you just mentioned that particular strategy might actually help you in the long run.
Exactly, right? And so with you putting your money into those individual accounts, you want to also keep in mind fees associated with those accounts, because we know that it pays to play, right? You got to pay to play to have those accounts. We understand that. But you want to add those fees for having those accounts within the amount that you're sending, right? So it may not be 50, it may be 51% that you have to put in, but that 1% is going to cover the fees. And so it's not taken away from any of your expectations when you log into the account and you're like, by my tabulation, it's supposed to be this amount and it's less, right? And so you want to protect yourself from being heartbroken and take fees into consideration. That's for all matters of banking, right? Whether it's lending, whether it's saving, credit cards, etc.
So now, from a personal banking perspective, I see a lot of people, creating bank accounts for their children at young ages. And there's obviously there are different products for their children. Now, is there benefit to starting these accounts for our youth at those ages, or should we wait till they get to an age where they can actually manage the money themselves? Like, is there a benefit that from a financial services perspective makes sense, and then also as just a regular citizen?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As long as you're including your child when you make those accounts, right? So yes, little one, this is what your account's for, and I'm personally putting X amount of dollars in it weekly, monthly, whatever you're doing. But the important thing is to teach your child about finances from get. Like, that is my number one issue or concern I have growing up here in Bermuda specifically, is that we are not taught finances. No matter what school you go, you're not taught finances. And so if you as a parent are seeing the importance of starting your child off early, then why not include them in conversations? Now, I understand if attention deficit disorder kicks in and they need Netflix. I have an 11-year-old. I know if you're not talking about things that don't interest them, they give you 30 seconds of their time and then it's on to the next.
Right.
However, you want to find ways to include them and what will interest them when you're talking about this. Hey, so I'm putting $30 in your account for whatever they like.
Right. Okay.
Just think about that, right? And you want to establish it from early. This money is not to be touched because at the end of it, this is what you're going to have, and explain to them the pathway that you're going down for them so they're able to understand the importance of it.
And I think what's interesting about that concept is that, we don't really, like you said, talk about it in the education space. Sure. And so we are now putting that on the parent to kind of take that on, which is kind of part of parenting. So it does make sense. But I definitely want to take a break here because we're going to come back to talk even more with TJ about not only the financial services industry, but being a small business owner. So you want to make sure you do not go anywhere.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Joined today by Bermuda cricket legend, Mr. Clarence Parfitt, who's going to be joining us all the way over there from Scotland. Where did this wonderful journey in the sport begin for you?
When I was real young. to me it seems like there's not enough discipline in Bermuda. You need discipline, and discipline is the key. The clubs have got to bite the bullet and do what's best for the game. Until you do that, you're not going to get anywhere.
Watch Up Close with Colin Thompson Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on Channel 82 and online at channel82.bm. Channel 82, it's where Bermuda shines through.
Epic Entertainment.
Beautiful shots from Andre right there.
Contact that knocks any one of them back.
Here we go. You saw that? Beautiful. Heavy lather on him. Watch this. Here we go.
Then they are toe-to-toe again. Andre.
He's already being a little tired right now.
He rocked him back. And that's it. There you have it. Andre Showtime Lamb.
He did exactly what he had to do.
Epic Entertainment. Creating epic memories one event at a time.
You're watching The Sovereign Life with Terrisa Stewart on Channel 82.
Welcome back to this episode of The Sovereign Life. I am Terry Kate, and I am joined with my good friend TJ Clarke. Now, TJ, before we took that break, you mentioned the idea of save. And just from a business perspective, how important is it to have your own capital to get yourself started?
Very important. No matter who you approach for any investment need, they want to see you to have some kind of skin in the game, right? And so it is absolutely important, no matter what you save, right? As long as you have some kind of savings, no matter what amount you're going for, the investor, especially if it's a private investor, not necessarily an institutional investor, they want to see you to have some skin in the game. You could have all the passion. This could be your number one love, but it doesn't matter if you're not having any type of collateral or any type of risk that the investor sees as a risk to be able to put up front. You may not get that investor, right? Or that investment. So absolutely save no matter how much it is, right? Some people are like, I can only afford $50 a week. Save that $50 a week, because that $50 is better than zero, right? And when the time comes to be able to approach anyone, you can say, well, here's my investment account statement, right? Because these are my savings. You're not showing them all your money, just your savings amount to say, look, this is what I've saved throughout whatever periodic time that you decided to save for that investment or to approach that investor and be like, look, this is all I have. I'm willing to do this for X, or willing to do this because, look, this is what I have. I've worked hard. Explain your situation. It's very important to save, and to everybody that you're approaching is human, right? And that is key to understand. They're probably going through the same stuff you're going through. And so just put it out there. But yeah, absolutely. Save is key.
So when we talk about, small businesses tend to use capital as the reason why they can't get off the ground. But what are some other ways that a small business can get started with a limited amount of capital? Like, what are some ways that they can kind of maybe get themselves established and put themselves out there while they're working on saving that capital?
Keep at it. Be consistent. Like I remember prior to Rugged Rentals becoming a business, every single chance or opportunity I got, I would tell people, yeah, I may be concierge working at a hotel, but let me tell you about this great idea I have. And, just so like the timeline was like 7 years, right? Graduated college, went into hospitality, thought of this idea, built the business plan with me and my business partner, bouncing ideas off each other, and finally got a business plan solidified between us. And every single person that I met, hey, my name's TJ, by the way, bam. And I swear I was getting people irritated with just showing my idea or giving my idea to them. But I was passionate about getting this business started, right? From a safety standpoint, period, because obviously on 2 wheels, it's a lot more dangerous than being on 4 wheels, right? And unless you're riding a bike from wherever you're from, it takes a long time to get used to. So yeah, absolutely. Be consistent with it. Let people know, hey, this is what I'm working on. And when people see that passion in you, they feed into it. Right. And you never know. You may be talking to that potential investor that you don't have no clue what they're about. Go for it.
Right. And so your story around never giving up, like 7 years working on that, millennials like a lot of instant gratification. If you double tap on their photo, they are happy that they see that heart and those counts go up. Yep. But so just talking about your business, can you just elaborate a little bit more on what Rugged is? Because I know a lot of people, self included, when I saw Rugged, it's like, oh, this just came out of nowhere. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, because I like Hummers and there's like these mini Hummers. So it's like, it's passion and all that good jazz. But like, just elaborate on what it took for you to get from the business plan, even with your partner. So like, what's your partner's kind of space in? Like, what's that person's expertise?
Yeah, absolutely. So my partner, Jocelyn Robinson, he's in the insurance industry, and I was in hospitality at the time of starting the business. But we were both passionate about getting this business started, right? And it took a lot of late nights. It took a lot of emails. No matter who was in a position that we thought could help us, they were getting an email from us. No matter, we will copy each other in just so we have paper trail. No matter permanent secretary. Now, when we first started this business, or the thought of the business, it was the original PLP, right? And then, which is 2010. And then they lost 2012. So now we had to reintroduce ourselves to the new minister. Hey, name is Talent. These are my emails. Just let you know, this is what we're thinking of. Showed them the business plan. Had meetings with them. Was a great idea. And then they lost.
Okay. So back at this again.
So back to the new transport minister. Now, mind you, before they lost, they passed the the Motor Car Amendment Act, right, of 1952. But from that position, we then had to reintroduce ourselves to the new transport minister and say, look, this is what we're doing. Yes, it's already passed into law, but how do we progress? So just be consistent. Be adamant. There was many times I took no, right? Didn't take no for an answer, right? If it didn't say, yeah, come meet with me, there was a follow-up meeting or a follow-up email 2 or 3 days later. Hey, sorry, don't mean to be a pest, but just, if this was my passion, I needed to get this business up and running, and this is the reason why. Boom.
It sounds like you've gone through a few challenges in this process of getting the business started. Outside of, getting that law change, what has been your biggest lesson learned in becoming your own business owner? Like, a lot of times we see the instant overnight success because we're just now joining the journey. Like, I just saw the mini Hummers and I'm like, oh, this was fast. Yeah. But you had 7 years of this. So what other lessons did you learn throughout that process?
That's a good question, Terry. I think my biggest lesson learned is not to take no as your answer, right? If this is your passion, if this is 100% your dedication, yes, I had a full-time job, but at the same time, my other full-time job was working on getting this business started, right? And like I was saying earlier, once people see your dedication to your dream or to your goal, there's no way that they can turn you down, right? Or at least give you positive feedback, or at least start. Now there's Instagram. Before there wasn't Instagram when I was starting this, right? Yes, there was Facebook, but social media wasn't as big as what it is now. And, if Instagram was back then I would have needed to start at Rugged Rentals via Insta. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, and just post constantly, right? To get the word out there. And this is what I'm thinking about doing. When you have so many people that are in your corner, I don't think there's any way that can be taken from you, right? And you're always going to be successful. Not in your eye, but you're going to be successful, for sure.
Absolutely. I think what a lot of millennials tend to kind of do with themselves is keep themselves kind of isolated, because it's like, oh, this is my idea. I want to see this through. I want to be the one known for this thing. And
Absolutely.
You mentioned you have a partner with Rugged Rentals. So how important was it for you to have someone that you could kind of, not only bounce the idea off of, but kind of share this load with? Because from a financial perspective, you could have taken this on all by yourself and got all the returns,
right.
But you saw the benefit of having someone to kind of split some of that load with.
Yeah, he was feeling it with me. Every punch that we took, he was right there. Every punch that he took, I was right there. And figuratively speaking, not necessarily literal.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But it's important, right? Because I came up with the idea and I approached him about it. And when he was like, what? Yeah, let's do this, right? It was just like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And just with his background, in the insurance industry, being able to at least guide from that perspective, right? And my industry, eventually I got into banking. So I was in hospitality, then I got into banking. And once I saw with regards to banking what was needed, I was then able to be, put my mind to it and consider different aspects or consider different options for us to take. But absolutely having somebody in your corner, especially in Bermuda, everybody wants to be the first to do something, or everybody wants to do it solo, or it was my idea first. Okay, it's your idea, but guess what? Your idea is probably thought about by 2, 3, 4, 5 other people, right? And it all depends on what you're doing to beat them, right? You don't know what they're doing to beat you, right? So it's always good just to be consistent and have a plan and have those people in your corner that you love and you share everything with, because that you're gonna realize when starting a business, that's what it really takes.
A team is definitely, probably, if not the biggest takeaway from anything that you do in life, it's probably the number one thing. I want to pause on that note. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with TJ. We're going to wrap it up, navigating not only the banking system here in Bermuda, but also being a small business owner. So you don't want to go anywhere.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Joined today by Bermuda cricket legend, Mr. Clarence Parfitt, who's going to be joining us all the way over there from Scotland. Where did this wonderful journey in the sport begin for you?
When I was real young. To me, it seems like there's not enough discipline in Bermuda. You need discipline, and discipline is the key. The clubs have got to bite the bullet and do what's best for the game. Until you do that, you're not going to get anywhere.
Watch Up Close with Colin Thompson Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on Channel 82 and online at channel82.bm. Channel 82, it's where Bermuda shines through.
You're watching The Sovereign Life with Terrisa Stewart on Channel 82.
Welcome back to this episode of The Sovereign Life. I am Terry Kay, and I am joined with my guest today, TJ. TJ, earlier we talked about the fact that you've been in multiple industries on the island before you actually started your own business. At what point did you say to yourself, all right, it's time for me to focus on my business full time?
Sure. A lot of things just align themselves right after the majority of sleepless nights, working on the business plan, finally getting the meetings I needed to, finally getting a law passed, finally getting investment into the business was what was key or essential for me to leave my job as a banker to then experience entrepreneurship to its final. But yeah, that was the penultimate goal, right? Was to, yes, we had all our meetings, they were successful. Yes, the law was passed, that was successful. Now, what was needed for me to start business or to at least leave my job to start as an entrepreneur? And that was to have investment or an investor invest into the business in order for it to be operational.
And that's it, speaking of the operation, because your fleet is not a regular fleet. It's not like something that everyone can kind of just go and get started. How did you even source the fleet that you have, or even like how did you go about that research? Because it's not like clothes. Like it's not like it's not the easiest thing for someone to kind of research and make that connection on.
I did mention sleepless nights, right?
Yeah, you did.
Google is your friend. No matter what you're looking for, if you're looking for red clothing, say it in so many different ways that it comes back to you until you find what you're looking for, right? And that's literally what I did. I searched for mini car, electric mini car, mini electric car, until I found something that was specific with regards to dimensions, with regards to the kilowatts needed for the motor, because there are restrictions to the dimensions or specifications for the cars that we have, right? And so when I found it in a Hummer, I was key on saying, look, that is the car. Now, here comes the idea of reaching out. How do we get in touch with the people that we need to get in touch with? And it took multiple emails and multiple call attempts to China, right? And it took me, eventually, me and my partner, to fly to China. And that's when we introduced ourselves, and, you know, the factory was 7-hour drive away from the main city that we were in. And so it's just being dedicated to knowing you have this idea, to being able to stick with it and go for it.
A lot of things that you kind of discuss, the characteristics, I think, of what an entrepreneur should embody. And a lot of us are seeing entrepreneurship as being like this trending topic for everyone. You want to have a full-time job and you want to kind of create this side hustle that you can kind of, that'll help you retire from your full-time job. Sure. But I don't think a lot of people appreciate what it takes to actually be an entrepreneur full-time. We talked about sleepless nights when you are, you know, still working in another company, but what are some of the key characteristics you found that you needed to have to do this full-time that actually is allowing you to continue to be successful?
Just knowing that you're going to be successful, right? And having that ultimate goal that so many people, before this law was passed, before this business plan and the investor, and before it was successfully in operation, would be like, oh, that's never going to happen, right? And I could have taken that and be like, you know, you're right, it's never going to happen. But having those people in your corner, like we were talking about earlier, to be able to rely on or be able to prop you up when you are down is absolute key to being successful, right? And to getting your dream out there, no matter what, stick with it. Consistency is number one. Consistency, and stick to it.
I love that consistency is like the theme of this conversation, because I do find that as millennials, we tend to find that, okay, we know the instant gratification. We don't like the idea of delayed gratification. Patience is not a key for us. Like, that's not the virtue that we're trying to embody. But sure. I think we're starting to like revert back to that. And just hearing your story of sticking to the wicket over 7 years to get this law passed, and then it allows other people to kind of come into this space. And, you know, it does create the the area for competition, which I think in a free market is what the point of it, right?
Of course.
We can't just, like you said, we can't just want to always be the first or the one that's known for doing the thing. But I think your story is so powerful because not only did you stick to the wicked, you've been able to create the successful business, but you've been able to do it as a person who's passionate about it. Because I think a lot of people just try to find that thing that they can kind of like get that quick fix, get that quick return on,
Sure.
and then just move forward with it. So I want to thank you, TJ, for sharing all of the wisdom that you share with us. And thank you for watching this episode of The Sovereign Life. To make sure, if you haven't already, that you share this episode with someone. And I want to thank you for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.
You've been watching The Sovereign Life. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching.
Being cool is one thing, but I do not have to do what everyone else is doing. I can do my own thing. I do not want to smoke weed. I can be different. My little brother and sister look up to me. Like when I do good, they want to do good. I've realized that what I do can influence their future. I've never thought of myself as a role model, but you never know who wants to be like you. You never know who's watching, so you have to watch what you're doing.
This is a message from the Department for National Drug Control Prevention Unit.
Hotep. My name is Mwalimu Melody Michelle Van Hutton, and this is Mwalimu Dropping the Knowledge. Hotep means peace in the ancient Kemetic language, and Mwalimu means teacher in Kiswahili and is equivalent to professor. Our episodes focus on African and African American global